communications with USA Wrestling, and this is our press conference for the World Cup of Freestyle Wrestling, which will be held this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, over at the Forum. We've got the 10 best wrestling nations in the world in freestyle wrestling arriving to compete at this major event, which is basically our international dual meet championships. The World Cup was created in 1973 in Toledo, Ohio, and the United States has hosted it 26 times. However, this is the first time we've had the opportunity to host this great event since 2003, so obviously all the wrestling community here in the United States is very excited. We have guests here from our local organizing committees, also representatives from the top teams in the world based on last year's World Cup performance. And just a little short protocol deal. I'm going to introduce each guest, ask them a question or two, and then we'll open up to questions. Bob Condren from FILA will have a microphone, so we'd like to hand you the microphone if you do have a question so we can all hear it, and it can be heard on the television audio. After that, we'll stop and have one-on-ones if you want to speak directly to our guests. And then at 11 o'clock, anyone who wants to go down and shoot some video in the wrestling room, there's a workout starting at 11, and we'll escort you down there. The U.S. team is going to be working out. So anyway, let's get it started. I want to first introduce Andy Barth, who's a leader of our local organizing committee. Andy's very active with USA Wrestling. He serves as our freestyle team leader. Founded the Titan Mercury Wrestling Club, which has an international and a local element here in LA area. And he works closely with our National Wrestling Hall of Fame. And Andy's worked with many people here in Los Angeles area to help put this thing together. Andy, could you explain why the wrestling community here in Los Angeles wanted to bring the World Cup back to the United States, and specifically to this part of the country?
Certainly. Los Angeles is a great environment. It's a great community in which to have this event. I think you know, everyone probably knows, that every one of these flags has got a community of people representing them here. I think that means we're going to have a very exciting turnout, a very excited crowd, and a crowd that's really going to appreciate this World Cup of wrestling.
So Andy, talk a little bit about why Southern California is a great wrestling community, and just how an event like this might even help boost the wrestling activity here in Southern California.
Gary, you know, there are more youth wrestlers in California than any other state in the Union. And I think that creates just an excited and a thrilled base of young people who are interested in wrestling. On top of that, we have probably more Olympians of all sports who have relocated and are living in the California area, many of them here in Southern California. I'm very excited for and thankful for the support we've gotten from the LA Sports Council here in Los Angeles, from our own Beat the Streets Los Angeles, which is promoting youth wrestling throughout the LA Unified School District and other areas. They're going to be bringing a lot of kids to this event. I'm very thankful that California USA Wrestling and USA Wrestling have been bringing so many people, such attention, and such a strong effort to help support this event.
Do we have any individual questions for Andy Barth from our local organizing committee? Raise your hand and Bob can give you the microphone. Thank you, Andy.
Thanks, Gary.
To my immediate left is someone you might recognize. He's a very successful actor, a community leader here in Los Angeles area. He's actually going to serve as one of our television commentators for the Universal Sports Network coverage of the World Cup. And obviously he's a wrestler through and through, from childhood until right now. Wrestling's been an important part of his life. Billy Baldwin was a real leader in the Keep Olympic Wrestling effort last year, which both USA Wrestling and FILA, the International Federation, was successful in retaining wrestling as a sport in the Olympics. So, Billy, with this in mind, why do you think wrestling is such a great sport, and why do you think the sport was successful in its attempt to keep its Olympic status?
First of all, you gentlemen to my left, when I'm commentating tomorrow, I may need you to phonetically pronounce some of the names of some of the wrestlers on your teams, because that's going to be that's going to be a real wrestling match in and of itself. We're trying to figure out how to say some of these names. Looking forward to the action tomorrow, or this weekend, I should say. And you know, wrestling is one of the oldest and greatest sports. It is one of the last bastions of true amateur athleticism. It's very near and dear to me. I think that when this was announced on February 12th last year, there was a great outpouring of shock. People were stunned. I read article after article where people were saying, and comment after comment on blogs where people were saying, you know, wrestling in the Olympics is like the 4th of July without fireworks. You know, it just didn't make sense to a lot of people. But when you go behind the scenes and you realize the intricacies and you know, the politics that goes on behind the scenes between NBC and the IOC and FILA, we realized that you know, we understood our marching orders. I know that NBC was looking for the Olympic Games to modernize, and FILA was looking for wrestling to modernize, and we've addressed a lot of those issues, and that's part of the reason why we were able to successfully have wrestling reinstated back to the games, because of the changes in rules and some of the other changes that will be coming up for the sport of wrestling before the 2016 Olympic Games in Rio.
Could you talk a little bit about why people in the community who haven't seen wrestling should come out and see what's going on for the World Cup?
Well, it's the Freestyle World Cup. It's the 10 greatest teams in the world. You're going to see these incredible matchups, individual matchups and team matchups. You know, for the Russian-American community in Southern California, for the Iranian-American community in Southern California, this is, if you want to see more events like this, cultural exchanges, athletic exchanges, you're going to want to come out and support this. And I think that we've got some very, very interesting matchups in our pool. The U.S. and Iran will face one another on Saturday evening, I believe, at 6:30. And I think what's going to get a lot of international headline attention is the matchup between the Ukraine and Russia. When does that happen?
Saturday morning.
Saturday morning. So those and other matches, we've got, you know, great wrestling through and through with all these different nations. But I think the matchup, particularly the matchup between the Ukraine and Russia, I think is going to be very interesting with some of the stuff that's going on right now. Yeah, I would say that if you're a Southern California resident, especially our over 500,000 Russian Americans and our 500,000 beyond Iranian Americans, I think it's important for you to show up to this and support this if you want to see more events like this in the future.
Any questions for Billy? I'm going to do a little reshuffle here. We have a special guest that showed up that I'm going to add to our group. The coach from Turkey, Adem, Bereket's here. I'm going to ask everyone to slide down, and I'm going to take Bob's microphone, and that way he can also talk to us when we get to the coaches. So.
Move one chair. Go.
Adem, please.
Oh, it's the same.
So in addition to our local wrestling leadership, we've been able to bring some guests that'll be competing from other nations here. These coaches have agreed to answer questions about wrestling and sport, but not politics. So I would ask in respect that you don't ask them a political question, that they're here for wrestling and to speak about the competition and the good friendship here in the wrestling community. To start, Iran is our reigning world champion in wrestling and is the defending World Cup champion, and they'll be represented by their coach and technical manager, Reza Razaie. Ali was an Olympic athlete, won a medal, and he's competed in the United States in New York City at the World Championships and also at the Goodwill Games. So this is not his first time here to be part of an event in the United States. Coach, could you please tell us about how preparation went for the World Cup and what are the goals of the Iranian team in this competition?
ایشون می‌فرمایند که بفرمایید که برای تیم ایران چه آماده سازی کردیم و چه اهدافی رو در این مسابقات دنبال می‌کنیم؟
تیم ما تیم مرتکب دو تیم جوان و با تجربه‌مون هست. ضمن اینکه برای دفاع از عنوان قهرمانی سال قبل اومدیم، نیمه‌نهایی هم به جهانی دادیم.
Well, it says that Iranian team is a combination of young team and also experienced, and we have prepared to come and defend our championship from last year, also give some chance to our young athletes.
Coach, does your team enjoy coming, does the Iranian team like coming to the United States for competition? And is there a good friendship between the wrestlers in the United States and Iran through the sport of wrestling?
ایشون می‌فرمایند که تیم ایران وقتی میاد اینجا واقعا به عنوان لذت میبرن که میان تو آمریکا و همچنین چه دقیقاً روابطی بین کشتی ایران و آمریکا در این مسابقات کشتی برگزار میشه.
ما هر موقع که میایم تو امریکا، چون هموطنهای زیاد اینجا هستن و کشتی دوستان، علاقه به کشتی هم همیشه تشویق میکنن تیم ایران و مشکلی از بابت تماشاچی و تشویق واقعا اینجا احساس نمی‌کنیم. در رابطه با ارتباط کشتی دو کشور من فکر کنم ارتباط خیلی خوبیه. ما سال گذشته هم برای اینکه کشتی از المپیک حذف نشه، حتی یه دیدار دوستانه در شهر نیویورک داشتیم برای اینکه هدف مشترکی اونم حفظ کشتی که برای ورزش هر دو کشور مهم بود با هم تعامل داشتیم و از این بابت مشکل خاصی وجود نداشت.
He says we really enjoy coming to the United States due to a lot of Iranian living community, living in the States, and every time we come in here we really feel we're home, and we really don't have any problem coming in here. And as far as the relationship with USA Wrestling, we have been in a great relationship, as a matter of fact last year, because we wanted to save the Olympic, wrestling Olympic, we can compete in New York, and we always enjoy to come to the United States.
Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, hi. You mentioned that trip to New York. You were also scheduled to be in Los Angeles that time. It didn't work out. Can you talk about why that didn't work out and why you decided to come here this time?
ایشون میگن شما عنوان کردین که سال گذشته اومدین تو نیویورک مسابقه دادین، ضمن اینکه قرار بود که به لس آنجلس هم بیان و مسابقه تو لس آنجلس داشته باشین. به چه علتی تیم به لس آنجلس نرید؟
شرایط معین نبود و در صورت به صورتی شد که نتونستیم کشتی دوم رو برگزار کنیم و هم کشتی اول به نیویورک با هم گرفتیم. دیگه نشد که شرایط وجود بیاد که کشتی دوم در چه رقابت داشته باشیم.
He's saying that it was not really the condition was not prepared to bring Iranian team at that time to LA, so the goal was come to New York, and after competing in New York, they decided to go back to Iran. They decided to not come to LA for some conditions.
And then why this time?
چه شرایطی شد که نیام به نیویورک به لس آنجلس؟
شرایط خاصی نبود، در صورت تصمیمی که گرفته شد موقع این بود که این کشتی دوم برگزار بشه.
There's not any specific reason, but since we came to New York, we decided to not come to LA.
He's asking, why did they come to LA this time?
ایشون می‌پرسن چرا این بار به لس آنجلس اومدید؟
مشکلی ما از بابت اومدن به لس آنجلس نداشتیم. الان برای اومدن برای مسابقات جام جهانی ورلد کاپ اومدیم اینجا و هیچ مشکل خاصی نداریم.
So there was not any particular problem to come to LA, but right now we are here for World Cup, and LA is hosting, so we're here to compete for World Cup.
Other questions? Any other questions? Right over there, Bob.
Yes, my name is John Gibolson. I'm a documentary filmmaker. I want to welcome you all to United States. My question to Ali is, how was the reaction of the Iranian people knowing that you guys are coming to United States? I mean, me as an Iranian American, I love both cultures, and I really hope that we could improve our relationship just on a personal level. So how was the reaction of the ordinary people in Iran? Thank you.
ایشون ضمن معرفی خودشون مستندساز هستن و دیگه اینکه عکس العمل ایرانیایی که توی آمریکا هستن برای اومدن تیم ایران چطور بود اینجا. ایشون به عنوان یه ایرانی آمریکایی خودشون واقعا خیلی خوشحالن که شما هستین و دوست دارن عکس العمل ایرانیایی که تو آمریکا از شما به شما خوش آمد کردن چگونه بوده.
بسیار عالی بود. من تشکر میکنم از هموطنانمون که در اینجا زندگی میکنن. دیروز هم در بعد ورودمون در فرودگاه به استقبال تیم ما اومدن، یه استقبال خیلی گرم و خیلی با محبتی داشتن و خب این در خصلت ایرانی‌ها هست. هر جای دنیا که ورزشکارشون میرن در اقصا نقاط دنیا همیشه محبت میکنن، به استقبالشون میرن، تشویقشون میکنن و دیروز هم واقعا خیلی محبت کردن.
He says it was great welcoming from Iranian, and he's so proud of Iranian fans. Yesterday, upon arrival, there was a group of Iranian welcoming us at the airport, and we're so proud of Iranian around the world. Wherever we go, we get their support.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you very much. And we're going to switch interpreters, if you don't mind, and bring our friend Paulie in to help out. Our next guest is our Russian team leader and coach, Christakis Alexandridis, who's brought many Russian teams here to the United States for events. Christakis, what is the goal for the Russian team here at the World Cup, and how strong is your group of athletes that have come to Los Angeles?
They brought a young team here. Но, несмотря на это, ребята подготовлены и надеемся на первое место. The athletes ready and they're ready to get first place.
Christakis, the United States and Russia many times compete against each other every year for many, many decades. How does the friendly rivalry between the United States and Russia make athletes better athletes and help the relationship between our wrestling countries?
Мы как сборная команды много встречались, много хорошие отношения было, хорошие часы, плохие часы, как сейчас отношения между командами. У нас, как ни у кого в мире, у команды России наибольший опыт совместных мероприятий с американской командой. If they compare to the rest of the world, our federation, our team have the best friends in American team. Это наш стратегический партнер. They are main partners. Во все сложные времена политические мы все время проводили совместные мероприятия. Every political change in Russia, they always been our friends and we've been their friends. Я уверен, мы будем продолжать также сотрудничать. Это будет только на пользу. I'm a team leader. I always think we will be carry on in the future. Одно из самых важных доказательств нашего сотрудничества то, что мы вместе участвовали в спасении и укреплении борьбы в олимпийской виде. We're here to make sure the wrestling is staying in the Olympic family, and we have to support. That's our job to make sure we keep on wrestling in the Olympic community. That's why we have to strive our team here.
Any questions for Coach Christakis?
Anybody?
David?
I know you don't want to talk about politics, but have you talked to your wrestlers about avoiding the emotions of that situation?
Нам не надо говорить за политику, но ты говорил с ребятами, что не надо думать. Ну, мы живем в таком мире, что от политики мы никуда не денемся.
I say we live in a world where we cannot do without politics nothing.
Но наша основная задача, всех, кто здесь находится, Иран, Россия, США, это политика нашей страны. Страна это называется борьба.
We say, from our side, for all the country, our politics is wrestling. That's the main goal to be here.
Thank you. Any other questions for Coach? Thank you very much. Now our special guest that wanted to come and talk about the team from Turkey is Adem Bereket. He was a great wrestler as a competitor, and now he's here representing the Turkish team. Turkey, like Iran, the United States, and Russia, has very strong wrestling traditions. Coach Bereket, could you tell us about the Turkish team that's here and how well you expect to do at the World Cup?
Он хочет знать, как ваша турецкая команда приготовлена на то, как ты думаешь, что будет все.
Хотел бы поприветствовать в первую очередь всех гостей, всех наших соперников, можно сказать, и пожелать удачи всем.
You want to welcome everybody as team and thank for the host and wish every team good luck.
Во-вторых, команда у нас молодая, все ребята молодые, это победители первенства Европы и первенства мира среди молодежи.
He said he brought a young team. They got their athletes win the European World Champions as juniors. Now they become senior.
Сегодня они молодые, но будущее Олимпийским играм это наши надежды, на которых мы полагаемся.
Now they're young and they're our future, and we hope they bring fame to my country.
К сожалению, основные ребята не смогли приехать, они у нас готовятся к чемпионату Европы.
They say that the first team, or the guys who have already spot, they've been assigned to European Championship, which is very important to his team.
Несмотря на это, группа у нас попала сильная, команда Америки, Ирана, мы будем бороться за медали.
He say, our group is very strong. We have America, Iran, but we try to do our best.
Спасибо.
Thank you very much. Any question? Any question?
Questions for Coach?
Does the coach speak also Farsi?
Ты говоришь фарси? He speaks Russian. Okay.
All right, thanks. Well, we're going to move to the far end of the table with the people in red, white, and blue down here. We'll start with our coach, our national coach, Zeke Jones, who was an Olympic medalist, world champion as an athlete, and has helped lead the United States to some great success lately. Coach Jones, would like you to talk a little bit about competing in a World Cup here in the United States. As an athlete, you had an opportunity to do that a number of times. And what's it like for an American team to compete in the World Cup on its home soil?
Well, it's a tremendous advantage, you know, to be able to sleep in American beds and American food on our time zone. I think having the opportunity to compete in Los Angeles, where wrestling is strong all over California, I think is certainly a place where we feel comfortable, we can do well. You know, our team leader, Barth, is from Los Angeles, and I think that, you know, he's been able to give us an opportunity to have success at the World Cup.
Coach Jones, tell us about this American World Cup team and our prospects for the team title. Our last team title at the World Cup was in 2003, and it was on U.S. soil in Boise.
Yeah, you know, we haven't won the World Cup in over a decade. This is a bullseye for us. We want to win this competition, make no mistake. I think it's going to be several factors. One, it's the collective. It's more than the individual. I think that there are going to be some specific matchups where, you know, we may use different wrestlers in the lineup. I think it's, you know, where the guys put the flag on their back and say, you know, this is for America, this is for our team, and I know that they're going to rise up because of that. And I think that right now we're at a place where it's time for us to do well. We've been knocking on the door of a World Cup, gold medal. Obviously, Iran, Russia, and Turkey, and all the teams here are very, very good. And I think our training and preparation has been good. I think we've done all the things necessary to be ready for this competition, and we're ready to compete.
Questions for Coach Jones? Raise your hand.
Coach Jones, first of all, thank you for taking my question. Can you please speak to the importance of what Coach Barth has done, not just in supporting this team, but it seems like he's got a lot of different tracks, trains on different tracks, including his own squad that's based here, the Titan Mercury Wrestling Club.
Well, that's why we're here. We're here. It was a conversation we had on a boat in Budapest, Hungary, about what's America need to do to be the best team in the world. And we felt the World Cup is a pivotal competition for us to host here. And through Andy's leadership, that's why we are here. And we're always strategizing on what we can do to help our country get on top of the podium. And we feel that the World Cup in Los Angeles right now is that reason. He's been a tremendous leader. Obviously, our team leader is an important part of our program. And we work together daily, text, email, telex. We wave, we use cups and walls, and have the conversation about what we're going to do to get on top of the podium. So this is an important event for us, and we know it.
Other questions for Coach Jones? You're back.
Thank you, Coach. Are you planning in the future taking your team to Iran?
Yeah, for sure. We're going to go to Iran. You got to wrestle the best to be the best. And right now, that's why we're wrestling the countries that are here this weekend, of course, to do it on the American soil. But we realize you can't always win the world championships in the United States. You wrestle the world championship all over the world. You have to be able to go to other countries, get in their conditions, and still perform at a high level. And so our plan is to go there in the future, for sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Over here, Alan. I'll use mine.
I'm Zeke, Alan Abrahamson. I really enjoyed your answer about cups and walls and having a conversation about what you can do to get to the top of the podium. Why is having the World Cup here important and pivotal in your quest to get to the top? I get that it could be important, but if I could ask you to elaborate, please.
Sure. Well, maybe we'll start with, the importance of California and Los Angeles, that the Titan Mercury Wrestling Club, who has been just growing and growing leaps and bounds, both at the grassroots level and at the Olympic level, is a major reason why we're here. We've talked about growing wrestling in the West, and as we know, wrestling is always a target anywhere in the world, and we feel that having events in the West, in Los Angeles, is critical to our success globally, not even just in the United States. So we want to make sure that we're growing our programs in the West. Like down the end of the table there, we talked about, California is our biggest membership state, and we have a lot of young children here that love the sport of wrestling. And if we can have just one kid be inspired, not only by a Tervel or a Jordan Burroughs, but even by an Iranian or a Russian wrestler, inspires them to say, I want to be an Olympic champion. And in California, that's a place we can do that. We've had a tremendous legacy and tradition. Stephen Abbas, Dave Schultz, Mark Schultz. I mean, the list goes on and on of our great wrestlers in California. And so that's one reason why we're here. It's many reasons why we're here.
Other questions? Okay, we're going to move on to our athletes. Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Gary. Just to follow up, if you would talk about the senior membership of your squad. I understand that Mr. Baldwin probably doesn't have a lot of time left as a competitor, but He may volunteer.
Can you get to 86 kilos? Can you get to 86 kilos?
I think you get a little less than 86. But can you talk to us about the two men specifically sitting to your left?
Yeah, you're talking about the leadership of the United States wrestling team, Jordan Burroughs and Tervel Dlagnev. You know, they've been an instrumental cog in our program. If you look up and down our lineup at the World Championships, the World Cups, every major competition that's important for America, you're going to see these two guys in the lineup. We need their leadership this weekend. We've had that discussion. They know it. You know, their job is pretty simple. Go out, do their thing on the mat, come off, get their hand raised, and take care of their jobs individually. But when you watch practice, when you watch us travel, when you watch us, you know, lead by example, these two guys are absolutely the people, the wrestlers that are doing it day in, day out, every minute of every day. And so, you know, Tervel obviously has got some good competition as well as Jordan here. I think their preparation has obviously been very, very good. You know, what we've been doing since last year's World Championships has been very calculated in their training and their competition cycles. I think too, like anything, the path swerves for both of them. You know, anytime you know, there's going to be a curveball every once in a while. I think both of them have been thrown one, but I think that only makes them stronger. So I like where they're at in their training. I like physically where Tervel's at. Jordan's moving his feet a lot faster this week than he was 3 weeks ago. And, you know, just a tremendous amount of, you know, giftedness up here with these guys.
Other questions? Thank you, Coach. I'm going to move to Zeke's immediate left. We're going to have one of the best heavyweight wrestlers in the world, a world medalist, Olympian, multiple team member for the United States, Tervel Dlagnev. Tervel, as an athlete, how do you like the dual meet format of the World Cup? And, you know, the fact that the match may come right down to you in the heavyweight match on which team is going to win.
I really like the dual meet format. I think it provides just a different type of stress, a different type of feel, because obviously we train individually. Wrestling's an individual sport, but you feel like, you know, in an individual tournament, I feel like you know, the coaching staff included really kind of caters to where you need to be. You know, they shield you from watching, you know, from trying to get your emotions too high and low. They want you to just kind of be zoned in and then maybe watch your teammates on video later. You know, they kind of try to shield you from that. But I think the opposite is when in a dual team format, you can't really be shielded from that. You kind of feed off the emotions of whether your team's winning, whether your team's losing, and how you handle that. So it's a different type of stressful environment, and I think it adds a pretty cool element to the sport. And as far as it coming down to me, you know, it doesn't really change. I mean, it's been coming down to me in college, and you know, old rules. So you know, the new dual format kind of, you know, makes it a little more interesting, because I think you can catch up when in the last one, if you know, the other country won if we won the first 4 weights, it was over. So the new style of scoring system makes it kind of come down to, you know, more interesting more often than not. Might come down to the end, but I really am not thinking about that. I'm just kind of excited to go out there and compete as a team.
So talk about how this high level of competition at a World Cup helps you prepare for the big events ahead, the World Championships, the events that every athlete shoots for each year.
Well, these are the best. These are the top 10 best teams in the world. So obviously, that being said, I mean, I know that I have quite a bit of medalists and past champions in my weight. Whether or not, you know, how everything lines up, I know that as far as right now, how it looks, you know, definite matchups, I'm going to come across, you know, some tough guys. So that being said, you know, you have a competition like this where you're guaranteed this many matches, and you're gonna definitely see these guys. You know, even if they lose, you know, or not, you're gonna see them. So, you know, it's lined up in a pool. So you prepare and you get ready to fight. But that's important, because I can go into my U.S. Open, my World Team Trials, and so on, going into the season, knowing that, you know, I've wrestled the toughest in the world. So, you know, now when you start preparing nationally, you're much more confident.
Questions for Tervel? Thank you, Tervel. To his left, we have one of the most popular and successful athletes on the planet, Olympic champion, two-time world champion Jordan Burroughs. Jordan, you've won this event, which they do give individual honors, the last 2 years, and competed overseas both times. Talk about how you like competing in the World Cup and being part of the U.S. team in this tournament.
I love the World Cup. I think it offers an interesting dynamic to wrestling that's reminiscent of my high school and college days. I love the dual meet format. I love being able to cheer on my teammates. Like Tervel said, it's more of an individual sport when it comes down to the World Championships and the Olympic Games, and very seldom do we actually get to cheer and sit in the stands and watch our teammates compete. So for us to actually be involved in a team race, team scoring, and know what's on the line as a collective group makes it interesting, and it keeps it exciting the entire time.
And last 3 years, gold medal.
Yes,
talk about some of the challenges of staying on top in such a tough and competitive sport.
It's definitely tough. I think it's tougher to stay on top than it is to get to the top. So it created basically an interesting place for me emotionally every time I step out to the mat. I have to have a laser focus to basically fight off everyone who's trying to take what I've earned. I think that it's very interesting dynamic for me, because when I was young, relatively unproven, I really had to go out there with a chip on my shoulder, and I always had something to accomplish. Now guys are trying to accomplish what I've accomplished these past 3 years, and it makes it tough for me because I'm the standard of the weight class. So those guys are training specifically for me. They know what I have, they watch me compete, they've scouted me, and for me, I'm just trying to become the best wrestler I can possibly be. So it makes it a little bit difficult when I'm out there competing against guys from different nations that I've never seen compete or wrestle. And but that's what makes it fun. You know, people come to see upsets, they come to see who can test the best in the world, they come to see interesting matchups.
Your last world title was less than a month after breaking your ankle. I mean, looking back at it now, what's your perspective of that achievement?
I just hope it never happens again. For once, Zeke was with me through the entire process. He was there that day in the hospital and in the training room when they actually showed us the x-ray of the fractured ankle. We're just like, dang, man, what are we going to do? And, you know, it's just a testament to God's power and my faith in my training staff and my family and coaches around me. And we got it done. So it was scary at the time, but now I look back and it's a great story to be able to tell my kids someday.
Questions for Jordan?
Yes. All right. Thank you, sir.
Jordan,
yes, sir.
Again, thank you from my heart. I thank you all for athletic. Actually, my brother in Iran was a very, very athletic. That goes back 60 years ago. And my father, Ali, had a strength house called Zulkhane in Iran. And I was a little kid, I didn't understand it, but now I really relate to the strength house and the athletic, and I have a lot of respect for all of you. My question to you is, first of all, I want to thank you for going out of your comfort zone and going to Iran. That's remarkable. And I want just to share with the audience, if you have any message for the American or Western world, what is your, if you had to summarize, what was your feeling when you were in Iran?
I loved it. I thought it was awesome. Originally, I was scared to go to Iran, just based on the public and media's perception of the actual Iranian people and our turmoil in politics. And I had actually watched the movie Argo before I went, so I was really scared when I saw that. But no, it was awesome. It was great. We were treated extremely well. All the fans and our hosts were extremely hospitable and gracious. And I had a great time. I'd love to go there and compete. Really, realistically, the Iranian fans treated me better than I had ever been treated in my entire life, regardless of location or country or situation. It was a really cool setting for me.
Wonderful. So since you mentioned about the film Argo, I have a documentary that I'm going to give it to you. It's called BAM 6.6.
Okay.
And I would like to see what you think of it.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Other questions?
Can I ask why you're walking back here?
Yeah.
This one's for Jordan Burroughs. The question is around relationships, training. How has your training changed since your relationship has changed? The family, I mean, is it different today than it was a year ago? And if so, how?
Well, it's interesting. For those of you who don't know, I got married in October of this year, and actually me and my wife are expecting our first child this summer in August. So it's definitely a different aspect of life. I think the biggest change for me is I don't get to take naps in the afternoon anymore. So when I come home from practice twice a day, my wife wants to spend time with me and she wants to spend quality time. So I can't get on my phone, can't get on the computer, can't watch TV. We have to spend quality time with each other, which is awesome, and I enjoy it very much. But I think it's one of the natural progressions of life. You know, you fall in love, you get married, and you establish a family of your own. So I'm enjoying it as well, and there's some things that are more important to me than wrestling, and my family is that as well. So as big as a distraction as some people may think it is, you know, it's one of the distractions of life that I'm completely comfortable with.
Would your answer be the same if you hadn't already won the gold?
I think it'll always be the same. If I never win another match again, I'm completely happy with what I've done, and just the success of my wrestling career, and happy that I have a great wife and hopefully a healthy family.
Please. Jordan, Wayne Boyd here, Titan Mercury Wrestling Club. You had a great performance last night on Arsenio Hall.
Thank you.
I was so impressed. Two-part question. How important do you think media and marketing our sport from that standpoint is going forward? And secondly, how does being on television in front of millions like that compare to walking onto a wrestling mat?
Well, I think we definitely need to kind of portray our sport as the great sport that it is. You watch ESPN and you see poker on ESPN more often than you see wrestling. And I don't think people aren't interested in wrestling. I think wrestling's a very interesting sport. It's a great sport. It's extremely exciting to watch, but you just have to give it to the people where they can actually have viewership, they can see it, get interested in it, and follow it through a lot of different aspects of social media, the internet, television, and all those type of outlets. But I think going out on our Arsenio Hall show is easy. You know, it's just like me and Tervel sitting here having a conversation with each other. Now wrestling, that's a whole different ball game, and it's really tough because there's a lot on the line when I step out on the wrestling mat. I put a large amount of training, a large amount of sacrifices and commitments to become the best wrestler possible, and to stand across from another man who's done the same and wants to take all that away from me and stop me from accomplishing my dreams and goals. It's a difficult process, but it's why we do it. It's an adrenaline rush. It's extremely fun, and that's why wrestling's the greatest sport in the world.
Well, I'd like to thank everyone for coming to our press conference. Some of you may want to do quick one-on-ones. We will have an opportunity at 11 o'clock to go down and shoot some video and pictures and some workouts. But I'd like to thank all of our guests. I'd like to thank Mr. Razaie, Alexandridis, Bereket, and all the Americans that helped participate, and of course our interpreters. And we look forward to having every one of you out to cover, and tell your friends and family to come out and see World Cup Wrestling this weekend. Thank you.